man, this has ended up being a very long video, but, you know, understanding this will help you so much in the game, trust me. So, the last kind of dive, right, is a vertical roof dive, I call it. There aren't any roofs on this map, so I'm just going to call it a high ground dive, but it's basically a dive where you're on the low ground in comparison to a roof. So instead of going from a corner, they're going from anywhere from there, and you don't know where their head will pop up from. So it could pop up from there, could pop up from there, could pop up there. So you don't even know where to shoot as they approach. Then they close the distance and shoot from the bottom. Alright? So floor dive, vertical corner dive, roof dive. They're the three kind of dives projectile heroes will face. And the biggest reason they have a massive disadvantage with all three of these dives is if you have to shoot up or shoot down as a projectile hero, the arc, oh, there goes the server, I'll have to restart it, the arc of your bullet will travel down as well. So that creates even less predictability, basically. Now, not all projectiles move in an arc, but it's just an added level of unpredictability. We'll go back into our lovely Numbani. Numbani, where are you? Let's go into it. Yeah, so
traveling to Numbani.
As a target closes the distance from far away, their hitboxes become easier to hit, and the projectile has less distance to travel. So as they come close to a projectile hero, the projectile hero becomes much more deadly. Whereas hitscan heroes, they are the same. They have the same deadliness at a range and at a close range. So that's just the thing about projectile heroes that matters. So why does all that matter? The floor dive, the roof dive, and the vertical corner dive is the different elevations make it 90% impossible to predict where they'll be to line up a headshot. Whereas rush heroes do not change their elevation. Their elevation remains the same. You only need to put your crosshair at the height of their head and stand while trying to predict how they will left AD straight or left right straight, or if they will crouch, or if they will jump. And if they jump, you can always land a headshot because their movement becomes very predictable. But yeah, their head height doesn't change, so you don't need to change your crosshair's head height. Vertical heroes, head height changes, you need to change it, and you will never hit the headshot. You can't predict it. It's actually impossible to predict it, because you have to predict one of 4 directions that they will choose to go. Which is just impossible. It's actually impossible. Like, the chances of you hitting it, like, is I would say 4 times less chance of you hitting the headshot than you hitting the headshots down. So, yeah. That's the trade-off, basically. I really need to get those 3 types of dives into your head, so you understand that at an elevation, projectile heroes have no advantage at different elevations. So they have no advantage at holding high ground. There's no point in them holding a high ground space that looks over an aerial space. Their only advantage is holding long horizontal lines of sight. Whereas hitscan, So like even like from high ground, even if they're all down there, right, on the objective, there is no advantage really for a Torbjorn to be using the high ground to shoot it. Because if they're shooting it at this angle, when you're looking down, they can move that direction, that direction, that direction, or that direction. There's 4 directions they can move in. So you have to predict 1 out of 4 choices. But if you are on this low ground here, right, at the same elevation as them, if they go forward and back, that's the same direction. So they can only go left or right. This is the most important concept for you to understand with projectiles. If you're up here, when they move from there to there, right, you have to make a decision on which side of their body you will lead the shot to, right? And that's only one of 2 decisions. You also have to make a decision if they'll go this way or this way. Here, if they're there, same spot, right? It doesn't matter if they strafe in both directions. It only matters if they go left and right. Yeah, and that's the difference. But hit scan heroes, right? You're a hit scan hero, and they decide to move like that, or like that, or like that. It doesn't matter which way they decide to shoot, because you're lining your crosshair right onto their body to deal instant damage. You're not leading a shot. So changes in elevation mean nothing to hit scan heroes, but they mean everything to projectile heroes. It makes them twice as inaccurate. So if you're up here, up and as a Torbjorn, trying to use this high ground as cover, what I'm trying to tell you is you're utilizing half of the hero's potential. You're completely wasting the hero's potential by being on the high ground. Even though high ground is commonly perceived as a wise thing to use as cover, you don't actually want to use it as cover for sparing heroes. That's the big lesson I'm trying to teach everyone, okay? Yeah. So, projectile heroes, terrible at a range. At a close range, they become almost the same as hit scan heroes. But like, that's only applied to outside against flying. Down here, they can only strafe left and right. They can't. If they go forward and back, you'll hit all the shots because they're just going straight. And that's why they counter heroes like Junker Queen, Orisa, and Mauga, because what does Junker Queen, Orisa, and Mauga want to do? They want to go forward. So if a Junker Queen's walking forward in a straight line, a Torbjorn won't miss his headshots, and his headshots do more damage per second. So just bang, 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 bang. Junker Queen would be dead if she just ran straight. So obviously they still have the option of straight, so that's where the skill comes in. You gotta be able to like see how they're gonna move, predict it. That's just like skill set. Yeah, because it can't be like just a guaranteed kill. Like that's why there's a little bit of room to move, right? Because if it was that easy, then like the game would just be completely unfair. They've still got to have an option to survive as they approach. You know what I mean? Like, but you should be able to predict them moving and try to hit your headshots anyway. At the very least, it's very reliable to hit body shots. But so yeah, so that's why projectile heroes are super countered by dive heroes. Defensive projectile, countered by offensive dive, and they counter offensive rush. For those reasons. All to do with the weapon type and the elevation. I think we're back to the final part of the rotation, which is defensive hit scan, countering offensive dive, and being countered by offensive rush. Oh no, we're up to offensive rush. Okay, so offensive rush heroes, right? I'll just go kill myself real quick. Because that's who we're up to in the cycle. Let's go Tracer. defensive rush heroes are countered by defensive projectile heroes, like we were saying before, right? Their qualities, okay? They do a higher damage per second rate than their dive counterparts, right? Just like projectiles do a higher damage per second rate than their hitscan counterparts. They have more sustainability than their dive counterparts, just like projectile heroes have more sustainability than their hitscan counterparts. For this reason, they are a perfect counter to defensive hitscan, and they are perfectly countered by defensive projectile. If I come here as a tracer, if a Mei headshots me, I'm automatically down to 25 HP, and it used to be that she one-shot, right? And she has a high fire rate that spams a projectile, which is perfect for fighting Tracer, because Tracer doesn't use any vertical maneuverability to dodge shots. She can only dodge them left and right, jumping and crouching. Right, that's all she can do to dodge shots. But at the end of her jump, she's at the same elevation, right? When she crouches, she's at the same elevation, but with a crouch. That's where like the skill comes into it, with being able to move and attack, right? Pharah, Echo, Genji, their head moves diagonally up and down in both directions. So diagonally up to the left, diagonally up to the right, diagonally down to the left, diagonally down to the right. Projectile heroes can't predict that. They can predict, however, me moving like this, because there's only two options, right and left, as I approach. Not only this, I'm approaching. When you approach a projectile hero, right, down main, and you go forward, you become easier to hit as you approach. So it's an uphill battle. Blink, 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 you're right in front of their face, they do more damage per second, and they have too much sustain for you to burst them down. Right? That's like the idea, right? Say, you know, a fight's been drawn out and your Pharah has managed to shoot 2 rockets into the enemy Torbjorn there, and the Torbjorn's used his ability, and you've come in, Pharah with you, and you both burst down the Torbjorn, right? And this space has been claimed by your dive heroes and by you. You, and your next job is to attack who you perfectly counter. And who you perfectly counter are heroes like, now I know people will not agree with this, but McCree, Ashe, Soldier 76, heroes like that, Widow. I know because of how they've sort of like messed the game up over time that it's not necessarily true anymore, but that's the idea, right? She's meant to have, so the reason she has more sustain, right, than Genji, is she can get down to 1 health point, recall, and claim another 174 health points. Whereas Genji can only have his 250 as he goes in, right? That's why Trace is more sustainable. She's also very difficult to hit with her small hitbox and her blink. So she takes less damage as well. So she takes less damage, and the damage she does take, she can recall to claim back. Genji, Pharah, Echo, they can't do that. So more sustain. She has the highest burst damage submachine gun in the game, with 2 of them firing 20 bullets at a very short range and doing massive burst damage at close range. Just use your blinks to close the distance. It's more than Sombras, it's more than Soldiers, it's more than every other machine gun in the game. I think even more than Mao. I haven't tested that, but I think even more than Mao. It's because the fire rate is incredibly quick. Like, see how quickly this goes? It's, I think, 1 second per clip. I think a little bit less than a second, actually. The really quick burst fire rate, right? Yeah, so more damage, more sustain, and movement abilities, right? Only horizontal movement abilities, might I add. Blinks are horizontal. So the moment you get past the projectile heroes who counter you, right, if you manage to do that, you would come up here. Or if you can avoid them completely, that's great as well. If you just blink past them and they don't shoot you, that's fantastic. You come up here to this corner, wait for your cooldown, blink in, try to delete a soldier or something up here, right? Finish them off. If they damage you a bit, recall. Come back, finish them off. You know what I mean? You just counter them super hard because they do less damage per second, right? So they do less damage per second as you approach with more HP, right? And you do more damage per second. So you do more damage and you have more health. So if she closes the distance, she counters the heck out of them. But you know, again, projectile heroes will be preventing you from closing that distance. That's the idea. Yeah, so that's how rush heroes work. They perfectly counter defensive hitscan heroes who have low HP and do low damage per second. And that's because Tracer doesn't utilize any verticality, right? She's not trying to shoot at them from here and then go above them and shoot it. That's like, she doesn't get any advantage out of that. Her advantage is her health pool, her sustainability, and her high damage. That is the advantage. So just simply when they see each other, see at this corner? And this corner? When Tracer closes the distance to here, right? This is no longer a vertical corner in Tracer's mind. This is now a horizontal corner, right? Because we're at the same elevation and I do more damage per second in my burst than they do damage, right? This applies to Reaper, this applies to Sombra, this applies to Malga, this applies to Orisa, Junker Queen, Reinhardt, all of them. More sustain, more damage per second than their dive counterparts. If they have a hit scan weapon, right, their fire rate's slower, so they do less damage per second just by that. Their damage should be lower. I know it's not necessarily with all heroes because Overwatch is scuffed at the moment. And they have less HP. It's just that simple. Yeah, so that's why offensive rush counters defensive hit scan. Now I'll be going into more niche topics like how abilities counter one another. But this is the general rule of counters I'm talking about, not how abilities counter one another. Because yes, McCree's nade counters Tracer, but that's an ability that counters her, not the hero. Does that make sense? I think I remember explaining how Bastion counters D.Va and Genji, even though D.Va and Genji have a defense matrix and a deflect. But it's the ability that counters Bastion, not the hero. That's like what I'm trying to get across to everyone. Because yeah, if you just understand this, like, your life's just gonna... you're just gonna understand the game better. So offensive rush counters defensive hit scan and is countered by defensive projectiles. Defensive projectiles do more damage per second when they land headshots against horizontal heroes. Right, horizontally moving, meaning their head doesn't elevate, so they can land their headshots in the first place. They have a higher fire rate, higher damage per second rate, and they have more sustain. Hit scan, lower damage rate, lower damage per second, less sustain, but they can shoot up and they can shoot down while hitting heads. At a range as well. They can't. That's how it works. So that's the cycle completed and explained with the context of a map. And yes, it's the map that makes this counter system work, right? On control maps, any map that doesn't have verticality, right? All the horizontal heroes will counter all the vertical heroes, right? So that's why it feels like Orisa and Mauga and that are all more powerful heroes, right? Because if you play on maps like the Flashpoint maps, like Suravasa, or Ilios, or any maps like that, where there's no high ground in the first place, or very limited high ground, right? The heroes that rush along the horizontal and control the horizontal with projectiles become more powerful. But even then, defensive heroes only have an advantage where there is a long walkway between cover. See how this corner? From this corner to this corner is very far, right? From this corner here, right, to this corner here, very far, right? Very easy for them to, I would say, medium to long range, but you can still shoot them from a long range, or even a sniper, you know what I mean? You can shoot them from a sniper range, from a long range, right? Shoot them from a long range, right? Shoot them from a long range, that corner to this corner. On these other maps, these control maps, there is no high ground around the objective in the first place. So there's no point in choosing hit scan heroes or dive heroes, because there's just no point in choosing them, because they do less damage per second and they have less sustain. So it feels like they're weaker, right? It feels like they're weaker on these maps that don't have staircases up to high ground around the objective. But in reality, it's the map. It's the map that decides how counters work. If the map has verticality, right? And verticality is an important part of the map, especially around the objective. So say maps like Kings Row, Eichenwald, where there's high ground around the objective, right? And there's no cover around the objective. This is where hit scan heroes and dive heroes become extremely powerful, because they can shoot from the high ground, using the high ground as cover, and just damage you as you approach, right? Or they can shoot into the air, again, if it's the dive, or the dive can just shoot down onto the point, right? They can all shoot the objective from height, right? On a map like Ilios Lighthouse, where there is the cover, there's a roof over it, and there's only 4 little chokeblade doors around the objective, right? Like this door here, right? Which is only all of a sudden, hit scan becomes useless, because if there's cover around the objective, and you're shooting it as a soldier, a widow, a bastion, whatever, rush heroes can literally just stand on it, and you can't shoot them because they've got cover while they're standing on the objective with their close range weapons. So if you give up the high ground to confront them, say as a McCree, right? You're here, and there's an Orisa standing next to you on the point, you're just dead. You don't get any advantage because you're at a close range at the same elevation as them. It's only on maps where you get elevation as an advantage in the map, most importantly around the objective, but it can also be before the objective. It's just you don't have an advantage from it anymore, so it feels like these heroes are super weak and like they need to be nerfed. It feels like Orisa is super strong and Doomfist is too weak, and but you're just looking at the game from a narrow perspective. You're not looking at it from the full perspective of the maps and what the game designers are trying to get you to do. Yeah, so I think that just about covers it. This has taken 3 videos to complete, but I'm pretty happy with it because I really wanted to fully explain why I think this is how counters work. yeah, I really just want the community to get more educated on this really, because I think Overwatch is a lost cause because Blizzard will just give in to whatever the community wants. You see it with their gay pride stuff. They'll hop on whatever bandwagon they think they can hop on to make sure that they get sales and get money from it. But not only that, they just don't want a bad reputation with the public. They don't want anyone to hate them. You can just tell that. You know when you just tell when people care what others think about them and they care. They like read reviews and be like, oh no, I'm getting bad reviews. You know what I mean? And they actually care. You can tell that, you know, the marketing team at Blizzard or whatever is definitely like that with all their LGBT flags, their pro-feminism, their pro every political thing that they think is mainstream. They make sure that they're pro it so that people buy their game. You know, I've always, you know, it's always annoyed me that people are that pathetic and will literally only spend money on a game because they share political beliefs. I've always found that really sad. But not only with games, anything, just business, anything to do with money. If you won't spend money on someone because they share different beliefs from you, you know, different private, personal beliefs from you, I just think it's just sad because, you know, you're supposed to be a country, you know, you're supposed to run a country and you're supposed to get along with your neighbours. You don't have to agree with them to, you know, get along with them. So, anyway, that's just me rambling on about politics. I think a lot of people feel that way, but, you know, they just don't really have a voice. It's only the people that are loud and proud that get heard. Like, that's the thing, it's like, just because you don't agree with someone doesn't mean you hate them. Like, that's the thing about people. They're gonna grow some thick skin. Like, people aren't gonna agree with you. It doesn't mean they hate you. It doesn't mean you shouldn't hire them because they're different, or shouldn't give them, finance them because you don't like them. Like, it's like pretty arrogant, in my opinion. Anyway, my opinion. I think that pretty much covers it for everything I wanted to say about counterplay and how it actually works, or like for these offensive and defensive maps at least. I went over like scouting, right? You scout what heroes they go and which direction they're choosing. So defensive hit scans at a choke point, they'd scout who's rushing, which direction they're rushing from here. They'd scout, more importantly for themselves, they'd scout who's trying to dive over that sign, who's at that doorway ready to dive up here, and who's at that coastway ready to dive around the coast, and immediately start shooting at them. That's the thing, you want to immediately apply damage from there, from here, from this high ground. Try to kill them, like literally, try to stop them here, kill them here. If you don't kill them, you know, they retreat, hopefully, but if they stay out of position, you want to kill them. And when you're done killing them, you want to either make a play and flank there, which is risky, or simply, you know, when you're done killing them, just join your projectile heroes and contribute some extra damage, you know, like five against 3 is always a win, just doing that. I do love how she can blink across the gaps. That is pretty handy, actually. So yeah, hit scan heroes, they scout from here. Projectile heroes, they scout from here. So they can scout from here, you know, like help damage into whoever's coming this way. It changes if it's a tank and if it's a DPS. If it's a tank, right, I would immediately drop here and help damage into the Orisa, Mayaga, or whatever from here and retreat, right? But if it was a DPS, I'd just retreat through the height and try to figure out from here which way they're going to go. Are they going to go that way? 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 But yeah, you don't want to be... So, You don't want to be caught with your pants down, right? If you see an Orisa there, right, and you decide to go this way, right, you don't want her to already be coming around this corner here by the time you're dropping. You want to be down here by the time she's walking around that corner. So that's one thing to take into consideration. A lot of people don't stop rushes. They just let them get space for free without taking damage, and that's why they think that these heroes are broken. The truth is they're just not playing the game well enough. They're not playing it correctly. Not to mention, people just won't play Torb. They won't play Torb, they won't play Junkrat. You know, they just won't play projectile heroes because they're like, oh, it's not reliable. You can't reliably hit them. It's just like, well, because you're not playing them the right way. Yeah, so hit scan scout from there. Projectile heroes scout from there. It changes whether you're tank, DPS, and support as well. Support projectiles will always scout from here, look that way, and they will just always do that. DPS the same, like range DPS. The tanks projectile tank will scout from here, will prevent main and prevent top. And if his team tells them they're on the flank, he will back up, drop, meet them here, or meet them on the coast. So there's like bottom flank, bottom right flank. The tank monitors the top two, and the DPS and the support monitor the base and the coastline. So maybe the mage could just be watching coast, and the support could just be here, right? Like a life weaver, healing, so he can heal both. And he can be like watching down this way. The moment you see a tank or anything pop around here, if it's a tank, you tell your tank, hey, they're going bottom tank. If it's a tracer, you tell your May, hey, there's a tracer down bottom main May. You know, that's where communication will come into it. But if you're in solo queue, I would 100% recommend just doing it all yourself. Watch that way, watch that way, watch that way from here, and every now, if you have an inkling that they're going to go this way, just rotate around here. That's pretty much all it is. And hit scan just irrefutably here, because you can see that part of the choke, that part of the choke, that height of the choke. You can see the whole choke point, and you defensively take that way. You never, as a hit scan, never stay here and shoot at them, because oh my god, it's just terrible. If you stay here as a hit scan, they can just go down main, shoot onto the objective, onto whoever's over there, onto whoever's up there, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you never hold there as a hit scan. Yeah, never in a million. Unless maybe you're like a pro Widowmaker and you really know what you're doing and you're trying to go for cheap range. I would never do that. Yeah, and for the rush and the dive, you have 4 rush options, 2 dive options, 5 rush if you include going down main, flanking around here. These are the last 2 flank options. You can go this way, or you can go this way. You can go here, onto the point, or you can go here, so that you never had to look any of these ways, and you can go this way to flash them off the high ground. That is another option, which honestly is a good option, and I've done quite a few times. So yeah, technically there's 6 options. There's 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, but this 4th one goes straight, right? I wouldn't call this 5, I would call this part of, I wouldn't call that 5, I would call this 5 and that 6, because that's where the defenders will be like holding. The defenders won't come back here to hold this. That would take them right out of here.
because they want to hold all these ways as well. If you go down this way, they're not going to chase and meet you here, because then they'll just be out of position. They won't have a line of sight of the objective. So yeah, there's 6. 2 on the flank, 4 down main, 2 on the flank for rush heroes, and there's 2 for two aerial spaces you can take, the center or the flank aerial. And if you want, you can go onto maps yourself, and you can see each vertical corner. So this is a vertical corner here, right? Up there's a vertical corner. Oh, I made it. Up here's a vertical corner, you know what I mean? Like, you can go into maps yourself and check it out. Just be a second, I'm just gonna go for a minute. Alright, I'm back. Sorry, just had to go to the toilet. Is what it is. Yeah. So yeah, you can do this for all the maps, and you can look at every rush path, look at every vertical path, and you can actually analyze corners of aerial space you need to control, and corners of horizontal space that you need to control. Or conversely, on attack, the corners just become their opposites on attack. So on attack, that is not a corner of space you control. That's a corner that you need to claim, that you need to take. You know what I mean? That's a vertical corner you need to take as a dive hero. Does that make sense? And that's like the yin and yang of hybrid and escort maps, which... This is why I love hybrid and escort maps, because it's what makes Overwatch counters actually work. Control maps and flashpoint maps, they have multiple flanks from all directions. So, okay, so control maps sometimes have choke points, but most of the time they have multiple flanks. Flashpoint maps have multiple flanks from every direction. So rush heroes excel on them, even more so than projectiles, because ranged damage dealers get an advantage on ranged maps, but particularly ranged maps where you can't get flanked. Since flashpoint maps, there are flanks everywhere, heroes like Tracer, Hammond is one actually that's a unique one who gets a massive advantage out of it. They just excel. Yeah. So yeah, you can take it further. You can go from the start of the map to the end of the map and check out every corner that you need to control. That's the moral of the story. So as a hit scan, you would go here next, and you would control that airspace, right? You can see that airspace, that vertical corner,
this statue can you use as cover for the enemy, and down there, right? But they can flank that way, so you're controlling that space as well. Yep, you control that space from your high ground cover, and you check to. That's like the vertical choke point. You're looking at that flank, and you're looking at that flank. See? There. As you retreat down the vertical catwalk, right? Your next two vertical flank options are they can come from that side, or they can come from that side. You know, once you've... So, say you've decided that you've saw them coming this way, right? You saw them coming down main, so now you just need to know which way they're going from, like, the next corner, right? You've decided none of them are going that way, right? You know they're going down main. What you would do next is you would hold this corner. You'd go, okay, are they flanking or not? That's what this corner here is. It's like, you want to see if they're flanking or if they're not flanking. So, I guess you could go back a bit further and still have... No, that's a bit too far. No, you'd have to hold here so that you can see if they go around the corner. This would be your next place you hold, is looking down there, looking at your flank, right? That'd be the next place. Next vertical corner. The last vertical corner for the second checkpoint is this whole area, really. You want to see, are they coming from over there? Or down there, I suppose? Or, I guess, even down there. But those are rush paths, so not really down there or there. But mainly that way, or main. And this is your last stand for the second objective. So you've got the last stand, you're looking right, you're looking main, and you're looking main to the left, right? You've got your second stand, you're looking main, and you're looking at the left flank. You've got your first stand, you're looking main, and you're looking at the right flank, right? These line of sights with cover is where you're scouting for information, right? You scout information, you hold your ground, you try to kill them. You're always trying to kill them. You're not just trying to damage them. You're always trying to kill them, right? That's the goal. You want them dead. You want them dead so that you can start helping the projectile heroes. Or for the projectile heroes, you want the rush heroes dead so you can start aiming in the air and missing your shots on the dive heroes. But like that's just how it is. Like, they counter. So 5v3 doesn't matter if you're missing your shots. Any damage you do will just make it too much for them to survive. So there's 3 vertical corners to hold. 1, 2, 3. I guess this whole area is a vertical corner plus that thing there.
Back we go.
This is a vertical corner too, so there. I suppose this only shows you... This is like a final hold kind of corner, like where they're on that catwalk and like coming around and you think they might go on there. Yeah, and then if they get the objective, I guess your next vertical... Well, this would be your first vertical corner if they get the point, because the storm just moves there. You still keep damaging them from up here, trying to like get a kill. Your next vertical corner is here. Alright, try to damage them as they approach. And that's it. That's the last vertical corner, in fact. This is the last... I suppose, technically, this is a vertical corner, but it doesn't... It's not a vertical corner, because your only cover is this tree, and it's not optimal, right? That's the only cover you have. So you can come up here as like a soldier or something, but it is very suboptimal. This here, yeah, no, this is the last vertical corner, because you have a tree for cover, you have height for cover. Yeah, it's your last real vertical corner. Technically speaking, this is more of a horizontal. It is vertical because you've got that much height, but you can get shot back at from down here. Also, they just have to do that and they're on the same level, so... Or like, yeah, no, this is rush territory because, see this? That's a rush. You know, that's rush. Yeah, all rush. This is the... Even up here is rush, technically, because they can rush from down there. So, it's a vertical corner, but not for long. If you see the rush heroes go up there, which they can easily do, all of a sudden it's no longer a vertical. You lose all value from it. That's the last real vertical corner. That's like the last line of defense for hit scans denying airspace. But here's the thing, like if you want to deny airspace here, there's not much more airspace for them to utilize anyway. They have to walk through there, they have to walk through there, they have to walk through there, they have to walk through there. Yeah, so you'll be holding that anyway, so it's kind of like, what's the point? You don't want, hit scan heroes on this last objective. You pretty much just want projectile heroes, or rush heroes. You can, count vertical corners that you want to control. And another thing is, if you actually had a team of 6 people doing this, right, you would control these corners simultaneously as a team, and that's what would make it effective. But you need to understand the concepts. Every team member needs to know what their role is for these strategies to work. You know, like, most people just choose rush tanks, rush down main, have an Ana walk down main, an Ana who's super susceptible to getting just one shot, who should be getting one shot, and they just pocket a tank that has high sustainability and high damage, and then the enemy team goes with the same tank, right, on defense with high sustain and high damage, and both healers just pocket them, right? And that's how the game's played, honestly, even up to high levels. But it's literally just because the player base aren't really studying the game, I guess. They just don't study it. They're too lazy, and they only want to do what works reliably. They don't want to think too much about a strategy. But if you got 5 players together, and you actually watched my videos, and you actually started learning together, and you actually communicate with each other, because, this game is based on communication, you could implement these strategies, and you would have a massive advantage over anyone else who plays the game. And I mean that seriously. Like, if I'm telling you, if you just work smarter, not harder, I can guarantee you, your team would climb a lot higher. Doesn't matter what rank you're at. Well, it sort of does, but what matters is that you understand the concepts and you do it together. Have a little faith in your teammates to play their parts in it. It requires faith, right? But that's just part of being a team. You gotta believe in your teammates, and even if your teammates fail, what happens? Don't get angry about it. Your team, So many people just fucking use this game as therapy because they hate their lives, and I totally get it, but like, come on man, it's a fun game. Yeah. I think that's gonna have to do it. That was 3 videos, that was a long video, long 3 videos, it was like 3 hours of explanation, but yeah, I hope you take away what I've been trying to explain. I'll probably, in my next video, I'll go into depth about corner control on defensive, hybrid, and escort maps, and how you want to control each corner from the enemy spawn to your spawn as defense heroes, and from your spawn to the enemy spawn as offense heroes. If you're not holding the enemy spawn, you're not playing the game right. And I know that sounds weird, but you actually do want to spawn kill. You want to spawn trap. Top 500s, GMs do it all the time, and bronzes do it. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things where people from silver to, let's say, diamond, right? will be like, oh no, don't go with spawn, you're overextending, you know what I mean? But, let's say even masters maybe, right? Like, I don't actually know what diamond master is, so I never get to the jumps. But, I'm telling you, people, GMs, top 500s, they do it all the time because they understand these concepts of, you know, controlling corner to corner with the tank and the support backing up the tank and the damage backing up the tank. They work as a team, so it actually works. But, it's not overextending if you do it as a team, that's what I'm trying to say. And bronzes just do it because they don't give a shit and just, you know, they just walk forward. So it's literally like a bronze and GM strat for different reasons. But the bronzes don't know it, but what they're doing is right. It's the silvers to diamond or masters or whatever who think it's overextending, when in reality, it's not overextending at all. It's just you're blaming them for overextending, but you're not even supporting them in the first place as a team. If you follow them as a team, all of a sudden it's no longer overextended because they're getting heals pumped into them and they're also getting contributing damage into them. So they're holding a corner. Let me just quickly just go to this. So for example, a good defensive place to hold is right here as a tank. With hit scan up there, projectile heroes here, support behind the tank with the projectile heroes, support DPS and tank up there, all hit scan, firing damage to below. It's great for the hit scan to flank around there, fire range damage, but so they use this car as cover, doesn't matter from up there. Using this car as cover doesn't really matter from over there or over there, like projectile heroes spamming damage there, spamming damage from here, controlling this staircase, eventually retreating up here while damaging them if they chase, and then dropping back to where their anchor tank is, right? These are strategies that actually work really well, but the problem is you need teammates who want to do it, or you need to play a hero that will survive it because you have the mobility to survive it. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to be able to pull this off in solo queue unless you're using a highly mobile, self-reliant hero. If you're like a McCree holding up there by yourself, you're just going to die. It only works if the team does it. That's the point. And it's actually very strategically opportune. It's actually wise to do it as well. You want to damage them as they come out of their spawn. But a lot of people don't understand that. Because if in the trade-off, right, they force you out, right? They should never kill you. They should just force you to retreat to the next corner. That's how, like, Overwatch mainly works, especially if you're working together. And if they force you to here, right, you don't lose anything. All you've done is you force the enemy to use, if you force them to use cooldowns, or you damage them and get ult charge, or best case scenario, you get a kill or two, right? And they're down one or two, and then you like heal up and go in again, right? Say you get a team wipe, so you get a full team wipe, and your tank comes up here. There's nothing wrong with a tank coming up here to damage them as they walk out of spawn. There's literally nothing wrong with it. You can do that. Obviously, it would be better if the tank stayed there, or the tank like just walked here and just like, you know, used this as cover instead of the wall, right? So you can't get flanked and like blocked off the staircase, right? This staircase is important, because if they get this staircase, they can come up here, right? And they can attack any hit scan heroes that are holding up here. Not only that, if they get up here, right, they can just jump over here, especially as a tracer, jump here, you know what I mean, they're out of position, and jump on the point. And by then, you should already be retreating back up here, right? But realistically, right, if the tank's holding here, right, and there's a projectile damage hero behind him, like a Torbjorn or something, and they see a tracer, Pharah or a Genji or whatever, mainly a tracer because they're very quick, say even a Hammond, right, like go above and behind, all you have to do is abandon it, come back, and not even with everyone. You can just do it with as many people as you think you need, and walk to the point. They won't capture a third of the point in the time it takes you to walk here. Especially if they're by themselves, right? Which they will probably be by themselves. By the time, right, the ball gets there, you start walking. He's on point now, right? He's probably on point by the time you're at the bus walking. Keep walking. Keep walking. He won't cap a third, trust. It won't be quick enough. And, yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. You're supposed to hold spawn and then retreat to the main hold. And worst case scenario, right? Worst case scenario, say they get a pick or two, but you also do a whole heap of damage that forces cooldown and stuff. Yes, you have to retreat, yes, while doing damage, but you're applying pressure as they're doing damage. They have to heal up, they have to wait for their cooldowns, right? This gives the person who died, right? It gives them time to come back. I'm going to accept this invite and I'll introduce Hunter Prime to my YouTube channel. Yeah. This is probably going to be it for the video. It was fun doing it. I don't know if you can hear me, but... Yo, Hunter Prime, you're on YouTube, by the way, dude. So this is my friend. Yeah, he plays Overwatch.
Yo.
Yo, say hi to YouTube, Hunter. I'm recording for my YouTube channel.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, good. So exciting. Yeah, I'll probably end the video here. Hunter, you know, wants to play, so I'll see you in the next video, I guess. Bye.